Hi, if you're joining me live on a Sunday, I want to check in with you and ask, what kind of a Sunday are you having? Is it hey, I had a really big week last week and it was amazing. I was able to meet all the goals I had planned for myself, and I know what I'm going to be up to next week, and I'm really excited about it. But just for right now, on Sunday, I'm really having a chill kind of day, a kind of day where, you can see I'm outside. The ice cream truck just went by. And even though I wasn't in the market for ice cream because I'm looking at really boosting my energy right now and I notice that sugar isn't not working for me. So that's one of the things I'll get to later. But it reminded me of sort of like that carefree Sunday that a lot of us had as kids, right? And I wonder if, and it's not just, if you're not listening to this live, but not just for Sundays when I want you to be able to have that sort of kick back, enjoy the fruits of my labor kind of experience, know that everything that I want to make happen is going to happen. If that's something that you're not really relating to, if you notice that I really never get to have those days that I work really hard for, I want to talk to you a little bit about worry and if you're a worrier. Because if you are, that makes you really human. But I want to talk with you about, first of all, if you're a worrier, and when I'm mentioning it, when I say, do you worry? Maybe it's the kind of experience where you say, yeah, I think about things over and over and over, and I sort of get stuck and I don't work on them, and I'm sort of fearful about the future and right now. That is such a common experience, I know, for so many people. Yet I want to ask you, besides the fact that it makes you really uncomfortable, I mean, worry in and of itself is not something that people say, yeah, sign me up for some of that. I want to worry more. But also, I wonder if you're aware of the costs you, not just that it feels really unpleasant, but if you're aware of, if you're a worrier, how that might have an effect on things like your physical health, on your productivity. Because if you're a worrier, you're not as productive as you could be. And that means that you're not as effective as you'd want to be. Another thing I want to ask you about in terms of what, how worry sort of impacts your life. Is that something that you'd be willing to take a look at? And I can let you know, I mean, the kind of Sunday I'm having is the kind that I described, that I remember having as a kid. And how is it that I'm able to do that? Well, I have some specific techniques I want to share with you that I put into practice. And they really, really work. So that I hope you'll do that for yourself too. First thing is I want you to think about, when you think about worry, what comes to mind? Not only am I really uncomfortable, but it's the kind of thing where when I worry, Lee, what are the things that you tell yourself when you worry? So I want you to, first of all, the first technique is to really focus and pay attention when you feel yourself stressing. What are the things that you tell yourself? Because a lot of people can really pinpoint, they'll say, there's this thing that I haven't made happen yet, and I think about it a lot. And I say, I kind of know what I have in mind, but I don't know how to get started. I won't be able to make it happen. I'm kind of stuck. And so I spend so much time worrying about that thing and not doing anything to make it happen. So the first thing, because I'm all about the power of language and how you talk to yourself, I want you to take a minute. You could do it right now or after I finish the video. Jot down the things you tell yourself when you notice yourself worrying. Because as you can imagine, what I'm going to invite you to do instead is to, and in the beginning, this is going to take some effort on your part. So you're going to want to make sure you write these things down. And then the next time you worry, you're going to bring them as new tools, because new tools just don't happen to us automatically. We've got to really have them in front of us to say, next time that happens, I've got my list of things. And they're really actual statements that I want you to create. I'll give you a couple to get you started. And you can use them if you find they really work, but also it's just to get you sort of in the mindset of it. And then I want you to come up with some that really work powerfully for you, because it may just be one or maybe two that really work for you. So things like, when you notice yourself worrying, things like, okay, all I have to do right now is focus on what I'm doing right now, and everything will be well. A second one that I really love is, hi there, I can't see because I'm using my phone, I can't see who it is, but thumbs up back to you too. Yeah, and share this with your friends because you're not going to believe the second two things I'm going to talk about. So I want you, the second one would be something like, all I have to do is be here right now and trust. Trust that everything's going to be well. A third one that I love that can be really powerful is because when you think about worry's really comes from where our brain has space in it with thoughts in it that are generating the feeling of worry. I want you to think in terms of pushing out the worry thoughts and bringing in more to basically we're filling the space. We're leaving no room for worry by the third statement that I want you to think about, which is things like, what would I tell my friend right now if he was saying he was worried about this? And I want you to imagine, what would you say to somebody you really cared about? You'd probably say something like, you'd help them keep it in perspective, right? Like things like, hey, look, I know this feels hard right now, but it's temporary. All you have to do is do what you need to do today, and things are going to get better. A lot of times when we do the friend exercise, it's because we can sort of get away from the judgment and criticism and the real frenzy, the real panic of it, because we're often able to be wiser and more loving and kind and actually more thoughtful, like really wise, thoughtful when we're looking to help somebody else. So the second thing I want to talk with you about, which I alluded to before, like about that Sunday feeling where I'm just here, right? I'm not thinking about the past. I'm not thinking about what happened last week. It was a really big week. And I'm not thinking about the future, which is, wow, I'm really excited for some things going on in my family. We got some travel coming up with weddings, and now we're getting vaccinated, like all that. There are a lot of details, and you're doing this too, right? You're going to be figuring out as we open up again and we're gathering together again. There's more on our list, right? I'm not thinking about that at all. Why? Because I practice being present really regularly. So that to get back to it, that self-talk, I want you to really bring in really powerfully. Things like, all I have to do is be here right now and everything will be fine. All I have to do is focus on what's right ahead of me, whether that's actually a task I'm working on or the job of having fun with my kids or my spouse. All I have to do is take that walk right now. That's what presence feels like. That's what it looks like. Because we trust that all of those things are going to happen. Now, if you're not sure, if you're not really feeling comfortable when I talk about getting present, because you're not really sure what that means, I want you to, think about doing things like, there are a lot of guided meditations that help you get present. There's also just one of the most basic things, deep breathing exercises are a great way to get present, sort of help you focus. So I want you to really think about that. Being present helps you to be optimally productive. Because if all I'm doing is working on, let's say, how many tasks do you think you have between now and the end of your life? 100,000, 200,000, maybe a million if you think of every single thing you're going to get done, right? Every experience you're going to have, maybe a million. How would it be if you trusted that if I do the thing in front of me, maybe 7 more things for the rest of today, all those million are going to happen, and I don't have to feel overwhelmed? Because actually, the way to get a million things done is by being here in the moment. Yeah, so now I've talked a lot about presence. I want to talk about the third thing, which is think about anything that you have going on in your life right now. What are you worrying about? What's the thing you're worrying about? Either maybe it already happened and you're still holding on to something, like you didn't manage it as well as you wanted at work, or something like something happened with somebody in a relationship and you're feeling a little bit like you maybe want to take a look at that. Maybe you didn't handle it as well as you wanted, or you want to have a conversation with them. If you're not working on that, you're worrying about it because you're focused on the past. Take the same thing applies with the future. If you think about what's going on for you the next couple of weeks, the next month, the next year, the next 5 years maybe. Think about all the dreams that you have for yourself. And when we get, into planning, dreams really are about goals, right? Like, what do you want to do? You want to up your game in the physical department? You want to maybe get more fit? You want to have more energy? In the work department, if you don't love your job, and maybe the pandemic has opened up some thoughts of you about what's possible because work has looked really different and you're really realizing you don't love it so much. So you're thinking, yeah, I want to stay in my job right now, but I know I'm going to be somewhere else in 5 years, but I'm just worrying about it. Will I not find the right thing? Will the next thing be not satisfying like this one? Like worrying, right? I'll give you a third one. Let's say we're thinking about a relationship. Like, let's say maybe you are I don't know, you're in your 20s or 30s and you haven't had a long-term committed relationship and you really like that. You want to have a family, maybe you want to get married, maybe you want to have kids, whether you get married or not. Or you're somebody who has had a big breakup. Maybe you're divorced. Maybe you lost your spouse because they died. And you're thinking, yeah, a relationship is something I'd really like to have. But I have no clue how to start. And in a pandemic, yes, thank you. That was a really nice time to get into action about that, right? But my point is that you're worrying about it. You want that thing, but in the moment, you're not doing a darn thing to make it happen. So how do you do that? We think about dreams, and we back it down. It's reverse engineering, right? You have your dream, and then to make it more practical, it's a goal, right? I want a relationship. I want a satisfying job. I weigh 180 and I want to weigh 160. That's a clear goal, right? So we're going to continue with the reverse engineering, back it down a little bit more. I need to have a plan. So that, yeah, those 20 pounds aren't going to be lost within the next day. So what am I going to do? What action am I going to take today, tomorrow, and the next day that will have me in line to fulfill that goal of losing 20 pounds by, I don't know, 2 years from now, which is probably reasonable, right? So let's get even more focused on, because these are all worry busters. These techniques are worry busters. They're the way to have you get in action about the things you're concerned about so that you don't need to be worrying because you're making them happen. So let's focus even more, one step more further beyond the plan is the schedule. You know, I love, maybe you don't know, that I absolutely love the wisdom of Tony Robbins. And he talks about, when you really want to make something happen, you know what the goal is, you know what the plan is. But when you want to really get serious about it, you schedule it because that's when it becomes real. That's when it becomes real. So that the 20 pounds is, what does that look like? Well, maybe you're going to take the rest of Sunday off. I get it. But let's say tomorrow's Monday. I'm going to be writing down a grocery list that reflects the foods that I want to eat so that I'm on track for that. I'm going to put in a schedule that I take a walk for at least 20 minutes 3 times this week because that will have me on track. You see how that works? You know that you can trust that all I have to do is do the thing I'm doing right now. And I schedule that, and I do it day after day after day. And I even include days when there are curveballs thrown at me, or I just don't do it because I didn't stay committed. And you know that it doesn't really matter because I know I fell off the wagon a little bit. I can get back on. And all I got to do is schedule it again. Okay, I'm really going to do the 3 times this week. Really, really, no matter what. You look at things like, okay, I wasn't on track with my food because the things I'm buying at the grocery store, I did it after a week, and okay, that's good, but I want to step it up a little bit. And I know it'll happen because I'm scheduling it. See, it's really, really magical if you do that. That has you go from the non-productive realm of worry into the productive, effective, make it happen world of the schedule, of the presence, where I tell myself, yeah, look at this, I'm on track. I did it today. I did everything I need to do today to make that thing I want next week, next month, next year happen. And I know it will. One other thing I want to mention is as you begin to practice this, you may notice that as you develop the skill where worry becomes less a part of your days and powerful action and that calm that comes from feeling like I got this, I can kick back and have a Sunday, or a Sunday even during the week, because you made everything happen, right, for that day. Or even when you get really, really clear on how to be most effective, you can have it be, during my lunch hour now, I know I'm on track, so I can totally trust and kick back and do something really fun midday, because that's when I have the energy for it, trusting that I can then go back and I'm still on track for the day. You may notice that when you do that, you're really feeling like, wow, I notice I worry less because I'm so busy being up to things that it's really, really pretty cool. And I know you'll feel this way. That you'll notice that you start to feel that little bit of bubble up again, that sort of dis-ease, that worry, because what's going to happen, because you're human, is that that's sort of our go-to. It's a habit that we're looking to create, right? It's just a pattern of cognitive experience of worry that when you change it, it's going to bubble up again because that's what we tend to do. And my take on this is that where that comes from is that if you think about, let's talk about just from the place of energy. We need energy in our lives, right? Energy sort of represents the life force. We want to have enough of it so that we can have really, well, it's energy to do the things that we want to make happen. When that sort of gets out of whack a little bit because we're not really in balance, what that'll do is it'll kind of run amok. Think of it as excess energy. And what happens when we have excess energy in our lives, whether that's physical or emotional, mental, it manifests itself in things like anxiety and worry. So if you notice that in the future, I want you to reassure yourself you're not backsliding. What's happening is you're sort of stepping up your game. But worry, because it's the way that human brains sometimes go to with their energy expressed, what I want you to do is use that self-talk and say, okay, of course I'm feeling a little bit that way because I've been a worrier. And so it's going to kind of show up. And some great things that you can do with that, if you think about it in terms of the excess energy, is look at what you're doing. Some real quick things you can do is if you look and you say, well, I'm really on track for everything. I'm really feeling pretty solid about making things happen for myself, but it's still there. I want you to look at a couple areas. One, look at things like what you're putting in your body. So maybe that's a caffeine excess day for you. And the worry isn't because you're not capable and you're not really up to big stuff. It's because physically you've just sort of gone on overdrive. Or that may be a day where you want to look at expressing some of that extra energy in terms of moving your body. Because I think you probably aren't fully aware of how much control you have over managing your own energy levels. So if you're having a day where you're noticing, wow, I'm really doing stuff, or it's my day off, and I sort of give myself permission because I'm on track, I can have a Sunday. What's going on? Well, worry loves a vacuum. So if you're being really chill, and especially in the beginning when you're first learning to be comfortable with having a relaxed, empty mind, it's going to look to sort of fill the space. So all you have to do is, let's say, maybe I'm doing a meditation, or maybe I'm sort of relaxing, sitting in the sun, but I'm feeling it's starting to come in again. And you try a meditation and it's still like, I'm still feeling a little bit edgily. That's when I want you to get up and move your body. Pay attention to what your mind and your body are telling you. We need you to relieve some of that so that it never gets to the, draining, excessive sort of way that you move into worry. Because then you wonder if you're doing something wrong, right? No, it's just your body saying, look, get up and move, do something different. If you're in the middle of working on a work project, your computer, like a lot of us do these days, that's a time where you say, look, I'm going to take a break and go out for a walk. I'm going to drink some water. I'm going to have some protein, not more caffeine, that sort of thing. Cool. So the last thing that I want to mention to you, I'm going to check out my notes here because there's one thing that was really, really important. Oh, right. I wrote about this. I posted on my blog this week, and I'm going to put in the comments below after I'm done with this, I'm going to put a link to the blog because there are some techniques that some other folks really articulated well that are specific. It's just going to offer you a lot more about how to really laser in the moment to do more of the worry stress busting. So I want you to check that out. That'll be something that you can develop and craft and find out what really works for you. So the bottom line is, if you notice that you're a worrier, which I'm sure if you're still listening, you are, if you do these things, they really work. They will make all the difference. And my wish for you as you put these into practice, and I'd love to hear how you make out, get in touch with me, because then, I always am happy to share things that they may not be something I know, but they worked for you. And that's what I think will really help all of us, that we can share. Plus, if it's something that you want to work more with me about, you'll see how to get in touch with me. So my wish for you, before I sign off, is that I want you to worry less, because worrying less means that you can be more productive, more effective, and really live your life. But no, not really. I don't want you to live your life. I want you to really enjoy your life. And worry and joy just don't like to live in the same place. So be powerful, be joyful. Take care.